Welcome to the ultimate showdown between two iconic cities, New York City and Los Angeles. In one corner, we have New York City, the city that never sleeps, known for its hustle and bustle, towering skyscrapers, and diverse neighborhoods. In the other corner, we have my current home, Los Angeles, the entertainment capital of the world, famous for its palm trees lined streets, sunny weather, and overall just laid back, chill vibes. So which city reigns supreme? At the end of today's video, you will find out which city takes home the crown. I'm gonna break this video up into 8 different points, 8 categories, things like cost of living, dating, nightlife. I'll let you know which city wins in each category, and by the end of the video, you'll know which city comes out on top. Quick backstory, I've lived in both cities. I live in Los Angeles currently. I've been here for 6, going on almost 7 years, and I lived in New York City for about a year back in 2017. So I have firsthand perspective what it's like living in both cities. Without wasting any more time, let's jump right into it. Starting off with cost of living. As far as cost of living goes, New York is super expensive. It's very common for people to have multiple roommates, very small apartments. It's cool because you don't need things like cars, so you don't have to have a car payment or anything like that to get around. But the main thing in New York that is the most expensive is really just the cost to be there. I have a lot of friends that still live there, and I know a lot of them pay anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 a month, even more than that depending, and you just don't get much space. You're either living in a very small cramped studio and maybe not even Manhattan. You might be in Brooklyn, you might be in Queens, or you're living in, again, a small apartment, but you have 4 roommates. In LA, I can give you guys just my current cost of living. My apartment is about $1,800 a month after utilities, Wi-Fi, water, levels out to around $2,000 a month. But again, I have a 1 bedroom, no roommates. My apartment's like 850 square feet, and every time somebody comes over, they're always telling me just how big it is. In LA, you do have to pay for things like you have to have a car, so you might have a car payment, car insurance, but overall, just goods are a little bit cheaper in LA versus New York City, in my opinion. We do have higher taxes over here, but honestly, I have to give this round to LA just because you get more bang for your buck. You'll be paying basically the same amount of money for rent as you'd be paying in New York City, but you can get a much nicer place over here and probably in a better area as well. For the second category, we're gonna go over ease of making friends. So one thing I noticed when I lived in New York was that up front, it's kind of hard to make friends. So a little bit of a background, I was in college when I lived in New York City. I was going to FIT, the Fashion Institute of Technology, for fashion business management. And I will say New Yorkers have what I call a harsh and brash outer. So it can be hard to like approach people, talk to people, just because everybody's in a rush and it's so expensive that people are just so focused on what they have going on. That initial interaction, a lot of times people just don't want to talk. You're on the subway, you don't want to talk to nobody, you don't want anybody coming up to you, hey, what's your name? So it is harder on the exterior. People are a little bit meaner, quote unquote. You've always heard that New Yorkers are mean, but I will say once you get to know somebody in New York, they have a really soft and sweet inner. So once you make friends with somebody, you guys are homies, you're locked in. You're gonna be going out together, you're gonna integrate friend groups, and basically you become just ride or dies. In LA, it's kind of the opposite. So people over here, a lot of times LA has a stigma of being fake, and it's kind of true because here people are forthrightly very nice. So they'll smile in your face, hey, like what's your name? What do you do? But I will say that in LA, it's a bit more hollow. So you have a lot of acquaintances, but you don't really have many friends. It's kind of hard to describe, but basically you'll know a lot of people out here. You make connections, you might exchange Instagrams, whatever, or even like if you're working someplace, you have coworkers, but you guys aren't really friends. In LA, since a lot of people are trying to make it in the industry as either like an actor, musician, comedian, people are just so focused on their own self and trying to build their own careers up in the entertainment industry, where a lot of times people just don't really want to put the effort to get to know people because they're putting their dreams over everything. So I'll give this category to New York City actually, as far as ease of making friends go. Like real actual friends. You'll know more people in LA because New York did feel lonely because I didn't know many people, but the people that I did know in New York, we were extremely close. I could call them up even today and still be able to rely and depend on them. In LA, you can't really say that. The third category, what a lot of you guys are probably looking into and wondering about, is dating. What's dating like? In New York, I'll say dating is, it's just different. So again, I was in school when I lived in New York, but I think New York has a bigger hookup culture. So in New York, when I was there back in 2017, Tinder was still kind of newish. It was all the rave. So I know people were hooking up. Like some of my homies at my school, bro, they be on Tinder, and almost every night it seemed like they were with a new shorty, a different shorty. New York also has a very bustling nightlife. I'll go over that more in the next category, but just from going out to different bars, clubs, because people work so hard during the day, they really like to let loose and hang out at night. So even for me being like a youngin' in New York, I was 17 when I lived there. Yo, don't ask me how I was able to get into bars and clubs, by the way. But when I would go out to like bars, clubs, it was kind of easy, I would say, to meet women. Like, you would meet them, have a conversation, and from that, it wasn't really too hard to escalate from there. Now, as far as meeting, if you wanna have like a girlfriend, find an actual partner, that is a little bit tougher because again, people are just hustling and bustling so much, but New York is better, I would say, for hookups. In LA, it's a little bit different because kind of like with making friends, it can also be a little bit tough meeting real, genuine connections as far as like having a partner goes. I've had a couple different girlfriends out here, and I will say if you are looking to settle down more in a relationship, LA probably would be a little bit better for you. But again, just kind of like in the last category, it is a bit harder to make that deeper connection. So for this category, I'm gonna make it a draw because if you're looking for hookups, I will say New York is better for that. If you're looking for relationships, I'd probably give that to LA. So this one's a tie. Now for our next category, nightlife. This one is really actually hard. So in New York, I remember having some of the best, most amazing experiences going out with people from my school, people that I worked with, because I had like 3 jobs just to survive when I lived over there. It'd be so fun going to different like bars because you'd go like underneath these places, almost like these underground bars and clubs, and you meet people from all walks of life. I remember being at certain bars, and basically I say bars and clubs interchangeably because they're both kind of the same in New York. I'm sure they had like clubs, but bars were more so what people went to, but they had like a lot of dancing, dance floors and everything. And I remember being on the dance floor and seeing like guys from Wall Street still in their suits, like looks like they just got off of work, like letting loose, dancing. There'd be beautiful women, college girls, just anything that you could think of, tourists. We'd all be together in one place and just like going up on one accord. So it was honestly really dope. Some of my best memories actually were from those times. In LA, nightlife is also so crazy because when I first came out here, I didn't know, but partying in the hills is a real thing. You can party up in the Hollywood Hills and some of the craziest mansions. I remember being 18, going to my first party in the hills, just being dumbfounded, stupefied at some of the views. You can see the whole city. Again, you're with like model shorties every day. On top of that, LA is really cool because we have a lot of like pop-up events and stuff as well. So if you wanna go to underground warehouse raves, art galleries, but also they're kind of like little party things because they'll be having drinks. And I will say club culture here is probably a bit more prevalent. Again, we're in the entertainment capital. So we have crazy clubs, Bootsy Bellows, Poppy, Warwick, One Oak, and they club seriously out here. My only gripe is that everywhere has to shut down at 2 a.m. in LA, whereas in New York, you can go all night. This one is really close, but I actually have to give this category to LA. Just because partying in the hills, you can go from the hills to the club, to the crazy bar scenes out here, and it just feels like you have more options, whereas in New York, there wasn't as many things to do at night, in my opinion. For the 5th category, opportunity / ability to make money. In New York, I'll just say it outright, it's hard to survive out there. Again, I was out there, me and my boy, we had our own place. We would just share sublets back then, but even just paying like our rent for the month was kind of tough. I was working 3 jobs, he was working like 3 jobs, and we had our own side hustles going on, and we were going to school. And I'm not gonna lie, one of the reasons why I left New York was because it just kind of felt like there wasn't a way out. NYC is filled with hustlers, so you can think that you're doing good, you're doing a lot, but people out there are going, and more than likely somebody's gonna hustle circles around you because they're from out there and they've been doing it for a while, or they've lived there for a while. So it didn't really feel like there was much opportunity. If you're one of those Wall Street guys, or if you have like an actual career, I had a cousin that lived in the Upper West Side, and she was a banker, and she was doing good. You know, I remember she would buy groceries for me. She would pick me up sometimes in a taxi, and she would just be letting the meter run. We'd be riding around. So if you are in kind of that corporate lifestyle in New York, you can live a good life. But for the average person, I would say there's not much opportunity to move up and have like ability to make more and more money year on year. In LA, I always tell people the reason why I moved from Florida to Los Angeles and actually settled down here was because there is a lot of opportunity. Although things are expensive out here, everything's relative. So you make more, like per hour, I think the hourly wage, minimum wage is like $16 right now, $16.50. And yes, it still is very hard to survive out here. I'm not trying to take anything away from that, but it just feels like there's more things you can do to make money. And also like somebody isn't gonna cut you off from your knees and just out hustle you, outwork you. I remember coming here after living in New York, and from having that just like hustler culture, I feel like it was kind of easy to make money in LA because there's so many things you can do between like working for different apps if you don't really have like an education. My last gig out here is I was just a bartender. I stopped bartending like a month ago, but bartending is very lucrative. Any job where you can make tips, so being a server, you usually make pretty good money out here. And then you have the career side as well too. You can work for one of the big studios, Paramount, Warner, Disney, and honestly there's a lot of jobs out here, whereas it felt like there wasn't many jobs in New York. So I will say for opportunity and ability to make money, I'll give this category to LA. For the next category, we're gonna go over weather and environment and just terrain in general. This one will be quick. New York City is known for being a concrete jungle. You just have skyscrapers, quite literally concrete. An interesting fact, the city of New York is only comprised of 14% green space. So yes, they do have a lot of very famous parks out there, Central Park, and a couple others. But if you're looking for green and just to be outside, New York's not really it for you. Also, I'm sure you know, in the summertime, New York gets super hot. It's humid out there, so it's very muggy. And since their trash system isn't that good, a lot of people just put their trash from the side of the street. It smells super bad. On the flip side, they have brutal winters. I remember that's another reason why I left New York, because it was so cold in the wintertime and I wasn't really ready for that. LA, on the other hand, you have palm trees, beaches, hills, you can go up into the mountains. We're known for being a city of sunshine. It barely ever rains over here. Maybe for like a month out of the year, a month or two, it'll be like rainy season, but really, it's blue skies and not a cloud in sight almost every day. Summertime, it can get kind of hot because it is dry heat out here, but I actually prefer dry heat to the humidity. So this category will go to LA. Seventh category is gonna be city pace. New York, you already know, it's hustle, go, go, go. I remember my first day in New York, I went to the city just to visit and see like, okay, what's everything like? And as soon as I got like out of the subway onto the street, just everybody is walking so quick, cars are honking, people are going places, they got places to go, people to see, and I didn't have anything to do, but I just started walking fast too because everybody else was doing it. So New York is just known for its hustle. It's very fast paced. LA is a nice mixture of hustle and chill. So yes, you can come out here and do stuff, you know, work for your career, but it's just so much more of a chill, laid back vibe, which being from Florida, I honestly preferred that personally. People just kind of have a more so laissez-faire vibe about them out here, where a lot of people don't even have jobs. A lot of people aren't really stressing too much, whereas in New York, people almost always seem to stress. So for city pace, if you're looking for a faster city pace, New York would be for you. If you're looking for like a good medium between chill, but also you can hustle if you like, LA would be for you. This one will be a tie as well, because it's just more so dependent on what you personally prefer. And last but not least, the eighth category is gonna be safety. This one's kind of a little bit of a hard category because like anywhere in New York, if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, of course somebody's gonna come up on you. So I spent a majority of my time in Manhattan and Brooklyn, and they were all very good, nice neighborhoods for the most part. Like in Manhattan, I lived in Chelsea, and when I was in Brooklyn, I mainly worked in Williamsburg. So kind of like the nicer, almost hipsterish areas of New York. But I'm sure if you're like in the wrong area, if you're some parts of like the Bronx or anywhere, even like Harlem, basically bad things can happen if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. So I will say in New York, I never really felt like in danger. Again, this is from my personal experience of a young black man. It could be different if you're a woman, but New York felt predominantly safe. There was a lot of police officers normally everywhere, so you didn't have to worry too much. In LA, it's a little bit different because there's more, I would say, politics and things that play here. So in certain neighborhoods of LA, especially the more South LA you go, I'm talking Compton, Watts, South Central. I lived in South Central when I first came out here, and that's when I really first ran into like gang culture, like gang banging. There's actual like Bloods and Crips, and they take it pretty seriously down there. So you couldn't even wear certain colors or certain hats. Like I've heard of people getting killed over wearing like the wrong hat basically, and they didn't even know. There is also a bigger homeless problem here. So where I worked at downtown, where I was a bartender before, a lot of times violence would happen, especially to young women downtown, because homeless people would just be going crazy. And like there was this one bad case of like this homeless guy attacking a woman with a pipe, like jacked her all up. She survived, but her face was just like ruined afterwards. And it was just a random act of violence. And I feel like you wouldn't normally get something like that in New York. So for safety, I actually would say that New York City is a lot safer than Los Angeles. So from all the categories, LA has 4 points, New York has 2 points, and then there was 2 ties. So from the video, as you can tell, LA actually comes out on top. Again, I might be a little bit biased because I've lived here for 6 going on 7 years, and personally, LA just resonates with my soul a lot more. But overall, I just think LA is a great city. A lot of people have a lot to say about it, between the homelessness crisis and just like the political aspect of it, our governor. A lot of people like to just take a crap on LA, but honestly, it's a really beautiful city. Even today, I'm looking outside, it's blue skies, good weather. I'm gonna go to a coffee shop and I don't have to feel like I'm rushed when I go outside or get into the street. But I wanna hear, what do you guys think? Comment down below. Have you lived in either city? Which one do you prefer? Or which one would you think that you would want to move to? I'm gonna be making a couple follow-up videos this week, so make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss when those videos come out. And give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. It helps a lot with the algorithm. If you guys do want to know more about LA, I have another video breaking down the pros and cons. Click on it right here if you want to find out more about Los Angeles. I love you guys, and I'll see you very soon.